Beautiful.
Alrighty. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Black.Queer.Alive. I'm here with one guest that I'm super excited to interview. And I thank you for your time, Leelee. I'm here with Leelee Jackson, um, playwright, artist, extraordinaire. Hi, welcome.
Thank you, Mimi, for having me here.
Yeah. Um, Just a little background for people who may not know. I had the wonderful privilege in being in one of Leelee's plays a couple years ago. It was Comb Your Hair or You Look Like a Slave.
You made me cry. You made me cry.
you made me
That was beautiful.
you made me make other people cry, but I had to cry first. It was I don't think I've ever really expressed this to you, but the emotional poet, which was the character I played, she she whooped my ass. She spun me around, um, but she also set me off on the path that led me to where I'm at right now. So I thank you for
Mhm.
her.
Thank you. That piece was actually, I wrote it years ago, and I was just processing my life, honestly. Like, I wasn't trying to have it be I didn't, honestly, I was so scared. I never thought anyone would see it. Like, I remember hitting up two of my homies and I was like, I just wrote this, what you think? And it was like, oh shit. Like, but the way that they said it kind of was like, what you gonna do with that? Kind of. And so I kind of just shoved it until I was writing Comb Your Hair, and I was like, we need it's because it was kind of moving in a poetry kind of way. And I was like, man, like, let me see if it fits. So I was like, I'll take it out later if it doesn't. And then you did it. You did it. Carmen did it before, like someone else named Carmen did it. Shout out to Carmen. Did it before you, and she was magnificent. And then after you, Melissa did it, and a few people have done it. But a lot of times, people do it, and it's so long that it takes a longer time. So with stage readings, a lot of times people read it, and then by like page 4, they're like da, 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 like just trying to get through it. But it's such a sensitive piece, and I'm just so grateful that you resuscitated that piece, girl, because I was ready to take it out. I wasn't sure, and it's so personal too. So like, if it wasn't working, I didn't want to be like pushing my agenda, but you made a believer out of me, Mimi.
Oh, thank you, Lee. I appreciate that. um, let's go with the first question. Let's jump into it. So your name's Leelee Jackson. Tell me your age, what you're passionate about, and your pronouns.
Hey, my age is 30. It's like my age, check it out, 31. Never mind.
Right.
I don't play with boys. Check, see, that song was raising me. Okay,
Yep.
wait. So my age is 31. My name is Leelee Jackson, and my occupation career currently is unemployment, EDD. But really, more importantly, I co-founded Black Lights Art Collective, and I've been doing that full time, but just volunteering really because it's such a beautiful space that I'm honored to have founded and honored to be a part of. So um, yeah,
Can,
that's what I do more full time.
can you expand a little bit about Black Light Arts Collective?
I can. Black Light Art Collective is community of people who are committed to redistributing Black art to Black people who either maybe like just did not have access to film classes, or like I know my college did not have like pilot writing workshops. My undergrad did not have playwriting classes. And so just like giving all those resources to Black people outside of the institution, like, we did an event with a workshop that, like, our first workshop was with Morgan Parker.
I was
It was
gonna.
like, what? And we got to give everybody a free Morgan Parker book, Magical Negro, like courtesy of Tin House Publishing, and like they gave us a like nice discount, so we was able to share the knowledge and the wealth. And so like yeah, that's all we're committed to doing. I think all of us, we just believe that the way that art is done is kind of institutionalized, and it's kind of shutting us out, you know, submitting to shit and just getting denied 6 months later. Like, so we wanted to create a space for Black artists to grow, learn, and to showcase their shit.
Mhm,
It's
mhm.
going well,
You,
going really well.
yeah, it is. I mean, that Morgan Parker workshop was amazing,
It
and
was.
I loved how fluid and like open and energetic she was. But I was like, this is what people need. That's what we
Yes,
need. Yes.
yes.
Um, Kind of to piggyback off of what you were saying, because I was going to get into this later, but you brought it up, so I'm bringing it up now. You've been very vocal in the past couple of maybe a couple months about uh, the institution, like
Yeah.
academic, the academy. What is your experience in the academy and as a Black femme?
Yikes. Whoa, how much time do we have? You know, it's extremely violent. It's an abusive relationship that I have. I have a master's degree. I thought that that meant that I would be somebody or something. Oh, that's what they tell you in the hood. Like, go to school, you know, get your college education. Like, and so I did. I did all that, and like it. I'm on unemployment. You know, I was before here. I was working at a coffee shop and a museum part time. Like, I mean, part time, like teaching artist. I mean, and you know, I got a master's degree, and so you know, like everything is like, what, you got a master? So the institution, I feel low key like it's an abusive relationship with me anyways, something that I always felt like I need to go back to, even though when I'm there I feel like I'm being treated poorly. I feel like my work isn't being read the same as everybody else's work. Like, you know, they're telling me like, why is your character's name this? Like, that's not a real name, you know, because you know, I named my characters Emotional Poet or like Apple. I had characters named Apple, Peaches, and Cherry, and like, it was like, that better, like my, like they'd be like, you know, that better be significant to the story. And I'm like, why'd your mama name you know, like I don't want to have names like John and Ted and like Samantha, and you know, like, so I was just hella getting roasted in grad school, to be honest. Um and like gaslit, like they, if I would have listened to a lot of the things they told me, I would never have been, I would never have gotten to write the shit show. Or like, I have a play called Your Mama's a Crackhead that's amazing. And I have another play called What Happens When Slaves Piss in Cotton, which is like showing this sort of like abusive relationship with the institution and poor Black people who they study. And like, I, you know, I'm like reading Sadia Hartman and shit, but I'm in the theater department in theory. And so I was like being like kind of like outcast a little bit. But thank God I had like, there's, you know, that's like the 80% negative. There's like these 20%, which was the, you know, my homies, that was like the other Black people in the writing department. That was the teachers who were like there, and they, you know, they had to work, but they still was looking at me like, don't change that, like do this, like you can do it, you know, like I gotta play up the shit show. They're like, that's never gonna be on the Monarchy. And my other teachers are like, no, it is, like we don't get this on Broadway. Like, that's how they was hyping me. So I really thought I was the shit, because the teachers I looked up to and respected believe in me. So, you know, I had like three professors, like 3 or 4 professors in at the institution like that at UC, in undergrad at UC Irvine and at UC Riverside, that just was like, had my back no matter what. And I would not be here without them. And also including again the Black students who was at these PWIs with us. And so like I found community in those institutions. But I wonder if I had to like, why, like I don't know if I feel like the abuse was worth, like I feel like there's a narrative that exists where I still would have found those people, you know
Mm.
what I'm saying? Like just through black lights are collected, you know what I'm saying? Like through the, but I'm glad I found them. Like they're the best thing that has come in my life from this experience, not the piece of paper. So yeah, like that's, you know, I don't know if you had a similar experience or different, but.
You know, I've been thinking about this lately because I've noticed that a lot of Black graduate students that who went to school around the same time I did, but at different institutions, are having like having more negative experiences. I
Mm-hmm.
I was only taught by two white professors in my entire 2 years there.
What a blessing.
And yeah, and I would say about 80% of the people in my workshops were Black. So
Mm-hmm.
that I'm realizing like that my experience in the academy while getting my master's is unusual,
Mm-hmm.
atypical.
Which is sad, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna even lie. I got into this PhD program at UC Santa Cruz, and I'm not scared, but I've already like on my orientation day when I went to go see some shit. Like I've already saw some shit where I was like, there was this
Mm-hmm.
there was this white woman doing a presentation where she was comparing W.B. Du Bois's like month. He used to have like a monthly magazine that he used to give out to Black people to Fire magazine, which is part of like the Harlem Renaissance with all them
Mm-hmm.
folks.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
compared it to like the birth of the nation. I'm like, why is this white bitch doing this? And why hasn't anyone in this room said anything? And I like that coming in to, and I was just like, okay, you may have been spoiled at Mills.
Listen, you gotta here's something. Two pieces of advice in Santa Cruz. You're gonna see a lot of white people with dreads,
Okay.
and you're also gonna have to be okay with booing people. Boo, boo, like just speaking up against the racist shit you're gonna hear, because it's gonna come. And for me, like I would be in, because I went to both UCs. The whole UC system is an institution, right? I would be in there like after a while, like after they would shut me down so much, I would just be in there like editing my essays during class and shit. Like it's reserving my energy. Cause like I would be in there responding to emails, like writing, like trying to create shit and emailing people, like barely paying attention, like as less as I can, cause it became such a toxic place for me. And so like there's times I remember one time in workshop, like with a world renowned writer, like the professor, and we go like 11 weeks in the quarter, so we go like 7 weeks, 8 weeks, all these white girls, whenever the people of color had to read their work, the white girls, I swear on everything, wouldn't say shit. But whenever they were reading each other work, they're like, oh my gosh, this is so good, and da 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 da. And so it was the last week of school. It was like the 8th week or something. It was like toward the end, and the professor was like, okay, who wants to go next week? And I was like, I would go, but as long as the white women in this classroom speak up and show the same amount of enthusiasm as they show for their each other's work. And they were like, and I was like, y'all don't say nothing when the people of color work is read. Y'all don't say anything, and we read y'all work. And this one white girl was like, Leelee, you didn't say anything for my work. And I was like, yeah, but you didn't say anything for none of the people of color work. So what the fuck that got to do with me, bitch? And then I got up and left, and like, I just left. I was like, I'm not staying in this class. It's not, my race is not a discussion. Like, so I think I just have to get better, and I'm still working on it every day, calling racism out in the moment, And I feel like if that's like an armor, I would have, like a tool of armor, I would have adapted much sooner. I feel like I would have, I would be talking about it less in therapy. So, just speaking up for myself instead of suffering silently. Like you said some problematic shit that made me uncomfortable. So I'm gonna call it out so we can all sit in the discomfort together. Because even the professor was like, I had no idea, and I'm like, you should have. Like, you should have. I don't get paid $150,000 a year to teach this class, brother. You do. So I feel like just speaking up for yourself, to your teachers, like to the professors. I mean, to the professors, to your classmates. Sometimes you're gonna be PhD, you're gonna be teaching. To your students, girl, these students be like, I thought this was this class, not an African American studies class. Like, I always got that on my survey. Like, just because I'm inserting Black people instead of white people, they think it's an AFAM class or some shit. Like, girl, it is so much stuff that happened to me, like, that I still just be working through. But all that to say is that it's not impossible for us to do it. Good can come from it. I met some of my best friends, like family. And, a lot of people who like work with Black or people I met in that institution. So it's, you know, feels kind of hypocritical for me to be like, nothing good can come of that evil place. But like good relationships can, you know, finding people who like believe in your work, that will change everything. So
Let's
yeah.
talk about your work a little bit because I believe in your work. I've read Comb Your Hair, You Look Like a Slave, and
Uh-huh. The
and
shit
I
show,
love this
yes.
show. The end of that, well, the whole piece, but the end of that piece and how white people are written, like
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think we've ever I've never seen anything like that. Like I've never
Mhm.
seen that. So what is your process when you're creating these plays? And you're by the way, Leelee, I know you're talking about your experiences, but you are the vanguard, my dear. Like you're ahead of this shit. Your work is that. And
I'm so glad you said that. Thank you, Mimi, because sometimes I be feeling like something wrong with me because that's what I want to write. Like, you know, I write in vignettes, I write choppy, I write crazy shit. Like, you know, like just I love Susan Lloyd Parks. And so I'm all that's who I'm trying, you know, that's who I'm trying to that's where I'm looking, you know, and you know, like I feel like sometimes like, you know, my shit always get rejected, like, or I take it to competitions and it don't win first place, like it always get like second, third place. And sometimes I be thinking it's I'm just like I be like what? Like am I tripping? You know, so I feel like I just thank you for that. Those words mean a lot to me. Um but yeah, like the shit show is one of my favorite pieces of theater. It's just for people who don't know, like it's a minstrel play. It's a reverse minstrel play. It's technically called a stage European play, as in like all the black actors are in whiteface. They're not all of them, but most of them. But it basically is about this family. It's aliens. They come from outer space, and their name is the Does, and they are white, and they're like new to Earth, and they're trying to, you know, assimilate to being, you know, a human. I keep saying, you know, I'm gonna try to stop. They're trying to assimilate to become better human people. And but they never learned about black people. So they end up like gaining insight from a white racist, which usually I have this character there because usually in theater, it's always the evil white racist who's the antagonist, like the so overt racist who's like, like, like nigger hard R and like, you know, like wearing a straw hat and kicking black people and like, you know, assaulting black women. It's always that kind of white antagonist. And, you know, I see those kind of people, but this character is not the antagonist. The antagonist is this white family who ends up falling deeper in love with blackness. And like so much so to the point where they like, you know, like try to like fucking consume all of blackness, like in a very problematic and petrifying Little Shop of Horror kind of way. So yeah, and then there's intercuts of like commercial breaks sort of, but it's just like it's traditional minstrelsy with like you have these like other shows like intertwining with a longer show. Not intertwining, it's usually before, but I intertwined them. And yeah, I was processing negrophilia. I was like, why do I feel like these non-black people who claim they love me, why do I feel like they hate me? Why do I feel like it's not about me? Like it didn't feel personal at all. Like I don't know, I was just processing some shit. And so like then the shit show came, and yeah, it was I think it's good too. If I'm not trying to be cocky, but
please be
I
kind.
think it's interesting. It's something that like you don't see on stage. Like my professor was like, she read it and Kimberly, she read it and she was like, we're gonna get this on Broadway. And she worked with me on it to make it even more absurd. Like it was such a fun experience. Like, and I was like, that's what I wanted in a teacher. And my another professor, Donatella Galella, she was the one who was like, you should write a minstrel show. Like she put me on, you know. So like they were helping me process, like I didn't want to write the traditional negrophobic, like I'm scared of Black people, or I'm so mean to Black people, but I'm like trying to show a different audience of like, wait a second, y'all who think y'all love Black people, like y'all are killing us too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the does represent, you know. It's just this unreal soulless kind of people. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I want to see it on stage one day. I want to see it with all its lights and glamour and like its whole full totality. Like one day it'll happen.
Yeah. It'll get there. Let's let's pivot a little bit. Can you hear
Yes,
me?
yes, yes.
Okay. Um, how do you? What's your gender expression and sexual identity?
Yeah, I'm queer. My pronouns are she, her, but I'm queer. I like it all. And so I like no complaints over here. Yeah, basically. And that's my gender expression. Just I love Black bodies in its totality. So
I like.
mm-hmm.
I mean, I like it all too, so I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where do you find home?
My home is the Bay Area, but I'm currently residing in Riverside. Yeah, I love the desert though. It's something really familiar about the desert. Like my homie, she takes us to, we'll go to the desert sometime and go hiking and find rivers and shit like that. Like I'd be like, oh my gosh, like I feel like I was cheated and robbed in life. Like this is beautiful. Like
Mm-hmm.
just being so small in that big ass space, you know, it's like, man. So I stayed in Riverside because I like the desert and I love my community here. But I'm from the Bay. I went to school in Oakland. Like I was saying, my family is in Oakland. I'm from South Richmond. And before I moved to Southern California, I was living in East Palo Alto. So I was kind of all over. And Sacramento too. Like I was in Sacramento for forever, which isn't the Bay, I know, so people don't roast me. But yeah. Like, that ain't the Bay. Like, no, I know. I was in Sacramento, but I'm from the Bay. So yeah.
All right. What are you searching for, Leelee?
I was when you said this question, I was like, what? I was like, nothing. I found it. I found it. I just have to be okay with the fact that I kept finding the same thing, you know? Like every time I search I find me, and so now I'm just enjoying me, you know, as much as I can. And even though I'm in a world that says I'm not supposed to enjoy me, I'm supposed to like hate me. Honestly, that's what it feels like. But I don't. So that's what I'm just searching for me and I keep finding me. So
What are the parts of you that are enjoyable?
all of them. Oh my gosh. No, I'm just kidding. The parts I love spending time with me. Like I love just watching TV with me. Um, I love reading with me. I love like listening to me talk. Like sometimes I'll talk to myself, like, but like very not like an accident, very intentionally talking to myself. Like, you know, girl, you got this. Like, you know, you don't need nothing from Target. You beautiful. Like, you know, just like affirming myself, like buying myself gifts, braiding my hair, you know, like just doing little things to make sure that I see me, you know, even if I don't feel like a lot of other people see me, like I gotta pick, you know, find myself, be cool by myself. But also sometimes I mean just like being like, okay, girl, you done been by yourself enough. It's time to call some friends. Like, you know, that's another thing I do for myself is make sure I stay connected in a community. But yeah, like I enjoy hanging out with like friends, so that's a way that I take care of myself too. So
Nice. Nice. Where do you see yourself in stories, in media, in plays?
oh
How,
my goodness. Um where do I see myself? Okay, wait. In media and stories.
it could be in a play as well, or a book, a comic.
Like where do I see myself? Like
Like, is there anything like a character that you've ever seen and you're like, I feel connected to them.
Yes, but I was looking at the second question. It's kind of the same answer.
Pretty
So
much the same one. If you could
okay,
just skip it.
okay. So Monique, Nikki Parker,
Ooh,
and the Parkers.
yeah.
I shit you not. You can't. There is probably 30 men in this world that you who could testify to me calling them my boo, my boyfriend, unsolicitedly, like, hey boo, like, come here, baby, like marry me, like just acting crazy. Like there's probably 20 different men in my life. Like Nikki, she just was like free. She pursued her men, like she cussed people out. She was beautiful. She was fat. She talked about being fat. She had this beautiful relationship with her daughter, which you never really see. Like,
Mm-hmm. Uh-oh.
1 second, Mimi. I
Okay.
think it's me. Okay. Hello?
Yes.
Beautiful. Okay, it was me the whole time. I was blaming you.
Oh,
You
it's
never expect yourself to be the killer. Okay. 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 What about you? Who's your person?
okay. Okay. I feel like I went through stages. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I felt very connected to Missy Elliott
Yes.
and Queen Latifah. Like Queen Latifah more than Missy Elliott. Something about her as Khadijah
Single.
in Living Single. And then it's funny because now that I'm older, I feel more connected to Sinclair. No wait, to Regine. But
I was Regine when I was 3. I was like, I need a wig.
like I need a man, I need a wig, I need
I need
money.
a man. I need a wig. Yes.
But something about seeing yeah, in the late 90s, just seeing Queen Latifah as Khadijah, I was like, I want to be her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then when I started really getting into music, it was Missy Elliott. Like Missy Elliott was that bitch. She was so futuristic and
Mm-hmm.
she wore things that I never thought that you could get away with.
Mm-hmm. Like a trash bag.
And made that shit look fly as fuck. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
damn, I want to do that, be that.
No, my brother used to be like, I want you to be like talented like Missy, like, because my brother, he a rapper, and so he'd be like, I want you to be talented like Missy. I used to rap, so I was like, I'm gonna be, but I went more the little Cam route, but I
Yeah.
did love me some Missy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
And
yes.
Missy's just like it's she's in her own lane, and it's just like
People can't even catch up to her. She's
and they never will.
they can't. They
They
can't. She said, I did records for tweet before y'all could even tweet. Like,
bring it back.
come on.
Yeah, those are the two. Khadijah from Living Singles, like who I wanted to be when I was younger. Um and that's it for me. That's
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
mm,
I mean, other than Nikki Parker, it was like Monique, like, I just kind of just really always is. I still admire her, like,
oh, yes.
much.
How do you feel about have you been keeping up with her lawsuit with Netflix?
Yes.
Okay. I have too. And they need to stop fucking playing and
They got her fucked up. I
also,
wrote about it. I wrote about it. Yeah. A little tiny bit.
yeah, they got her all
They,
the fucked up. And the
they
funny
hate
part,
Black women. They hate Black people. Like, they be over here talking about some strong Black lead, and it be some Black person in the movie who die, or like who be in there for 2.5 minutes. And it's like, what is it called? Netflix, shut your fake ass up. Like, give Monique her money.
yep. Give her her money and then let her create whatever the
Money.
fuck she wants on your platform while she's making fun of your asses.
We do need to boycott Netflix this time. Like
We do.
they but yeah.
We do. Um, mm, also, okay, let me not go into that. Let me stop. I was gonna go into Oprah, but it's all right.
Oh yeah, no. Okay, so I'm gonna send you my essay I wrote about it.
Oh, okay, please
I wrote
do.
about how, like, yeah, they had her fucked up. Like, they be having her fucked up. but it's like I talk a little bit in the essay about on-screen trauma that translate off-screen too for like, you know, women, like bigger than women, I guess. So yeah, I'll send it to you.
Me too. I would love to read that.
Mm-hmm.
When do you feel most safe?
It's so rare. Um, but if I'm honest, it's usually in the arms of a lover. Yeah, usually, unfortunately, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I felt your heart when you said that.
Yeah, I wish it wasn't because then I feel like I'll be more independent. Like, you know, but I do, you know, I struggle with really bad anxiety, so I don't often feel safe. Like every moment I'm like, this can be like somebody can bust into my house and kill me, or like I'll be walking down the street and see like somebody and I'll be like, oh my gosh, they about to kill me. Like, you know, like, or I'll be in my car and be like, oh my goodness, that big rig is about to kill me. Like that's literally like I be having a, you know, I'm in therapy, like I do yoga, like I try to be in community because if I'm not taking care of myself, like I would just be hiding under a bed somewhere, girl. It's scary out here.
It is.
It's scary. So I think yeah, some most of the times I feel most safe is like when I'm not feeling all that is usually not every time, but there's these certain times like I'll just be like in the arms of someone who I love and I get to be like intimate with in really special ways and
Mm.
really safe. I feel safe, you know.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Mm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna bounce to the next question.
Yeah.
And I'm actually really excited about, I don't know, I'm excited because I've read your work and you
Mm-hmm.
talk so much about like I remember you wrote this one piece of like your mom was a crackhead
Uh-huh.
or just like moments and vignettes. Oh, I did I did the uncle piece. Like it was a vignette with
Yes.
the uncle.
Yes. Uncle David.
He would, yes, and he was yelling at the nephew about calling his sister a black tar baby.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought of that when I was like, I wonder what Leelee would say in this moment. But you wrote about like the first time possibly recognizing blackness as being bad, but or just blackness is being recognized from
Mm-hmm.
male's perspective to child. And but when's the first time you realized you were black?
I never knew I wasn't black. That's all I was around. I didn't even know white people for a minute, you know? Like
Mm.
it was just something on TV. You know, in South Richmond, like before I was like 4, maybe up until 4, like white people it was a concept. So, you know, we didn't really, you know, mingle. Like we didn't really, you know, get with we wasn't really doing stuff like that. So, you know, but then when my parents went to rehab and they got out and they got us back, that's when we started being around like a lot of white people.
Mhm.
And I think this moment came into mind, not like that I was black, but that black was bad. But that didn't happen until I was start being around a lot of white people. So that happened at about 10 or 11 or something like that, because my mom had worked. She worked at the YMCA. You know, they have buildings on campus, and she wanted me to be closer to her. So she put me in the school that she was working in, and
Mhm.
it was a white ass fucking school. It was terrible. I was like scared all the time. I was like, I couldn't focus on doing work because I was getting like picked on. I was getting called poor. It wasn't just I was black, I was also poor. And so it was like the worst, the goddamn worst. And then my mom stopped working there and kept me in the school, and she couldn't afford to pay the after school people. It was just like it was bad. And I think that's when it started to get to me that blackness was something that was bad because I started being around white people and I stayed far. And so like um I don't think, but I always knew I was Black. Like, I don't think a moment really when I was like, I'm Black, or like race. What is race? Race is this. Like, I always kind of knew. Like I never learned.
I've I've in all the questions that I that I, every time I ask people this question, it's usually not until they are encountered by whiteness that Black
Mm-hmm.
becomes like a thing to, I don't want to say observe, but a thing to like consider or like take
Mm-hmm.
into account.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't be good at that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot about Zora Neale Hurston, who
Mm-hmm.
grew up in nothing but a Black community and didn't like interact with whiteness till much, much later in her life, and how like her imagination flourished, and how she was actually against integration, but that came later in her life. But I often think like, what would it be like if we just had like these Black spaces, like these just all Black spaces, these
Mm-hmm.
utopias in which we can govern ourselves and interact ourselves and create our own laws if we need laws, or ways of being. Your work makes me think about that a lot.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Good. That's what we should be thinking about. And reimagining. Reimagining is probably the most important tool we can have as Black people, because if we are continuously getting from the past, we will continuously get the results of the past. But
Mm-hmm.
we have to reimagine the futures that we want to live in. And I don't want to live in a future that's transphobic anymore, like ever. Like, that's not, I can't, I'm not doing that. Like, fuck that shit. I'm not living in a future that's where there's predators and it's okay. No, we beating their ass. Like, no, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to live in a future. I like have I have a future that I'm like, I like, if I'm living on this earth, like, this is the idea that I want to live toward. And like, it's community, it's connections, it's healing. And that's powerful to me. Like, a non-capitalistic, like, utopic society or some shit. Like, I need to read Paradise, but but that's what I know, I'm in for a treat. But like, that's yeah, that's what I'm trying to write in my work. And like, I'm also trying to archive the times, because when you look in the future, they're not gonna really be looking at, they first of all, I'm erased from history books, right? So when they learn about Black women, they're gonna learn about it from popular television and media and music, which I'm also erased from. So it's like, I don't exist. So when I write, all my shit, it's because I'm like, no, like, in 2020, Black women exist. We existed. We've always been out here. The multitudes of us, not just Beyonce's. We all out here.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm always reflecting in my work. My mama out here. My mama been out here, and I always use her. You can find my mama in anything that I write. Like, her ass will pop up like, hey, like, just to speak her piece, because she exists. And I want to make sure that in archive, like, it shows that these alternative Black women, these, like, Lycidia cards, the wayward Black women, right? The wayward women, the wayward lives, they exist. We exist. TV will have you thinking that every Black woman was a fucking mulatto, or excuse me, like a mixed race Black woman. And every like fat Black woman sang and
Right.
be pulled up with a purse or some shit, or like was a comedian, when like a lot of fat Black women are shy and like just cool, and kicking it. Like, it's like those, but you don't ever see that in TV. Like, so I just feel like I feel like I owe it to us, like, to be like, hey, we in this bitch. Basically, we exist and creating the world that I want to, like, for real live in. And
How
so,
much of your work is, I know you write like about Blackness as like an all-encompassing like experience, but how
mm-hmm.
much of, when you're writing, how much of it is thinking about Black femmes, Black men? Like, what type of distinctions do you try to make between them?
I try not to think about that. Let that be archived. I try not to think about Black men. Like I am writing a piece right now with my brother. Like it's based on my brother, a situation with my brother, but he's in it, but it's his relationship to Black women.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but I'm like pointing out the problematics of him not existing without them, and so like, but that's how I think about them. Like I feel like, I don't know, I'm just tired of pretending like a lot of Black men are hurting us, and it makes me sad. It makes me hella sad. And I know we have the argument like not all Black. I know probably 6 or 7 dope asses at Black men. Um, and I'm not gonna. I love those guys. My dad is one of those guys. Wendell was another one of those guys. Like my brother Red. Um, there's a few that I love that I fuck with, but like like overwhelmingly it's just a lot who are harming. And even like I love my brothers. I have 4 brothers. I love them, and they never had me fucked up. Well, they have actually, but like I've seen how they treated some of them. Not all of them have treated their girlfriends or their wives sometimes, or their baby mamas and their daughters. And I'm like, okay, is it enough to just love and respect me as your sister, but not show that same extended love to all these other Black women in your life? And so I feel like I can't excuse that kind of behavior. So a lot of times I just be like I don't know what, I'm sorry, I don't know what to do. Like
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. I don't know how to love them well anymore, like without expecting to be hurt. And that's some Black men that I've dated, without being hurt. Like, and I shouldn't associate love with hurt and pain. So I just try to love from a distance, I guess,
I,
Mimi.
I struggle with the same with my own father and my own brother.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you had a definition of misogynoir, their pictures would be right next to it.
Mm-hmm.
My my solution is to love them afar, but also to not internalize their behavior. Um, Not internalize their behavior and see it as a reflection of something that's wrong with me, but
Mm-hmm.
also know that it's like I want a part of me is in this space where I want to love Black men. Like that is something that I do love Black men. Like me, my friend William, pinnacle of a beautiful Black man, and he and I's relationship. Can you hear me? He and I have. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Mimi, I missed half of what you said.
Can you hear me?
No, not I can't. You're a little lagging.
What about now?
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I, just to go piggyback off of what you're saying. Um, I want to give.
Not really. It's like really bad. Like, yes.
Now you can hear me.
No, I can't hear you.
Ah,
You're talking about your dad and yeah.
yeah. So my relationship with my brother and my father, I do. I mean, I to say I don't love them would be a lie, but I do love them. But I also know y'all niggas ain't shit, and you don't deserve me to the capacity at which I'm capable.
And
And
if my brother called me right now and needed something, I'd be like, okay, shit.
I have that.
Like, it's
It's exhausting. It's fucking exhausting.
I don't know what the relationship is. I'm still processing my relationship with men. I actually went to a Susan Lloyd Parks like webinar, and I got to ask her a question, and I was like, I'm writing this man and I hate him. I was like, I don't know what to do with it. And she was like, you don't. She was like, every character you write, you desire to write. She gave me this beautiful, she said, every character you write, it comes from you. So if you hate him, you must hate a part of you. and you need to explore that, like, and ask yourself why, you know, like, why do I hate this like part of me, real essentially, you know. And then I start to have to process of like my familiar relationships and these people, like these men in my life, cousins, like brothers, uncles, you know, close family, friends, like all alike. And I'm like, damn, like I don't hate them, they're a part of me, but I hate them and they're a part of me. Like I have to process some shit. I'm working it out in therapy, and I know that that's not an ideal answer or a favorable answer, but it's just my truth. And like, based on my relationship with a lot of Black men, and like feeling completely committed to them, and still like overwhelmed by them, and I don't know what to do with the duality of those like coexisting in me.
So
And I
that,
know you understand, yeah. I know you understand.
let's pivot a little bit. When's the first time you realized you were queer?
when I was when I was in fifth grade, I used to think about Trina a
Oh,
lot, and so probably fifth grade. But I, you know, I had to pray it away, and like I didn't want it until I was basically I had to be given permission to be queer, and that didn't happen till like I was like 28 or 29 or something like
this is
that.
a couple years ago.
Yeah, it wasn't even that long ago. I'm 31.
Wow.
So it was always something that I was scared of, like thinking about, like sometimes I would like just fantasize about like beautiful women and try not to and pray it away and shit, and like be like, I can't do that, I can't do that. That's evil, that's sinful, you know, and not tell anybody. Or I'll tell my close friends, and they'll be like, girl, me too. Like, and so it's like, damn, bitch, we on the same boat. We both sinning. Like, and then, you know, I think when I was senior year, I just started kicking it with queer women. And I was like, they not bad. Like, it's nothing wrong. Like, you know, it just sort of was like, because I wasn't around that group of people that it was bad. But once I start to be around Black queer women, you know, I developed language and an identity, and I like it became okay to think about women versus taboo, you know, or to like, yeah, to no, or when I say women, I mean not cishet men, like in imagining who I can end up with or who I want to be with and share that intimacy with. So
If you
yeah, I would say 12 was like 10, the 11, 12 was like the moment that it started to happen. And then in my late 20s is when I received it.
if you can go back to that 11, 12-year-old self, what would you tell her?
First of all, I would give her a big old hug.
Mm.
If I can do anything, I would just give her a big old hug, and then I'd ensure her that she's right and everybody around her is wrong. She'll know what I'm talking about, and that everything she feels is actually okay, and she'll be okay. So yeah, because I was called ugly, I was called loud, I was clumsy. I'm an Aries, and so I just would be ramming my head in walls all the time. And I'm in a family of fucking Virgos, and they just looking at me like I'm a fucking disgusting piece of like trash because I'm just so clumsy and messy. I'm like, we go out for ice cream or something. I got ice cream all on my neck and shirt. Like I was always rough and shit. So I just always kind of got like roasted and ridiculed. I got like cricket teeth and I'm fat. Like I always just got roasted. And so I was just trying to show. And my sister was everybody's favorite. Like people would go come pick her up from my house. They'd be like, bye, Leelee. And then they take her to the mall and buy her everything she wanted. Like anything. And my broke ass would just be at home, like watching all that and like, oh, well, like I hella didn't care. I would be sad. I felt like no one liked me, but my mom would be like, bitch, like, not that. She'd be like, girl, you fine. Like, thank God for my mom. She was like my best friend. But yeah, I was treated poorly by most people. I have like a few, like my daddy's side cousins. We was thick as thieves. And then I would have these hard times with my mama's side cousins. Like, and I was around them a lot too. And then so I was just giving myself a hug and be like, girl, you gonna be fine. You doing right. You right. just keep doing what you're doing, boo. Like, you're gonna be fine, you know, like kind of just assure her.
When I was younger, everyone in my household was athletes, and I was like the fat one,
Mm-hmm.
and I always felt like, and I was like artistic and like all this bullshit. They just did not understand.
Yeah.
I hated them for a long time. I was angry. I was like, fuck y'all,
Yeah.
out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Alienating, and just to have permission, like sometimes it just takes somebody to realize that your kid is an artist, you know. Hey, like just being like, you're an artist, and it's like, oh yeah, that's why, like, I'm okay with like these things, or that's why I want to watch like this much TV. I want to write, you know, like if that would have been something my parents had access to as Black people, then my life could have been different, you know, like they would have been able to support that, like, oh yeah, well, you know. But instead they was just like, we don't know what to do with this girl, you know. So yeah, like, and my dad was an athlete, my mom was a teacher, and super caring and nurturing, and I'm not like, I'm nurturing, but I'm not, that's not really my, like, it's exhausting for me to be nurturing, so it's not natural at all. So like, yeah, I feel you. We in there together.
what do you want to hear from your 60-year-old self?
She's gonna come up to me and she's gonna be like, "You did it," and I'm gonna be like, "Yes, I know." And I don't know what she means.
Okay.
World domination. No, I mean, but I don't know what she means. If I can do what I think I can do in my head, then I'll be all right. And that's creating a world within this world that's like safe for, you know, queer Black folks and people who are down for to fight for queer Black folks. Like, that's not asking for a lot.
Mm.
So, and if I can do, I have an idea, I can get away with it, I'll feel like I had a pretty good life. Mm-hmm.
How do you experience love, Leelee?
Through gifts. Through gifts, and that's how I usually show love, through gifts and acts of service. Like I'll always show up for people. Like I'll be trying to like go to all my friends like lives and like going to their shows and reading, buying their books and their products and shit. Like just showing up. Like that's how I show love. That's how I receive love. Like through that, like just showing up for your homies and like, yeah, gifts. Like every gift somebody has given me, I be keeping it for hell long. Like
Mm.
they're like, you a hoarder, and I'm like, no. Like I remember who gave me this. Like they thought of me, you know. It'd be something hella ugly too. Some because I used to be a youth pastor once upon a time. It's another life. A youth leader, but we was the pastors. We just didn't have pastoral degrees, so they wouldn't pay us because it's the institutions that I've been a part of have all been corrupt. But like, yeah, we were leading these kids. We was working so much, and like, damn, I forgot my point.
You said
But,
that you be getting ugly gifts.
oh yeah, this girl gave me one time this paper mache head she made in art class.
Mm.
It was like a circle, like it was so big, like I'm gonna send you a picture. Like I have a picture of it. That shit was hella big, and I was like crying. I was like, I'm so, because my job was paying me $2 an hour to pastor these kids, and I was like, is it
$2?
and they were like, you're on salary, but they had us working. I was getting paid $2 an hour. I like did the math one day, and I tried to scale back, and they wouldn't let us. Like, ooh, it was violent, but
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
we were getting paid $2 an hour. They said we were interns, but we were running that. We were taking them kids out of the country, doing mission trips, doing picking them up, going to their schools. We did so much work. I like loved learning about community at that time, but I wish it wasn't under the circumstances of like the church either. Because I remember, yeah, there was some students who would come up to me and be like, I'm gay or I'm queer. And I'd be like, that's just a phase. Like, you know, like I was hella, but that's because I told the church that, you know, like this is who I was. Man, I'm sorry. Like if those kids are listening, those adults now, I'm like, I'm sorry. Like I was telling you what I was told, and I should have done my work earlier, but I was young.
Yeah.
Anywho, but yeah, when I was youth pastoring, I would get all these kinds of gifts. Like I still have most of them, and that was like over 10 years ago.
I'm
So
sorry. I just hearing $2 an hour is like, wait, what? Like my brain
I
didn't.
did the math. It took a while. It took a while because like it got to a point where like we can talk about capitalism another day, but like it got to the point where I was homeless, but I was working for the church, and I was like, I'm part time, but I was going in like for like over 40 hours a week, and like set because we was a mobile church, so we would have to set up hella early and would stay late to tear it down, and like they had us volunteering for other ministries, but you know it was like volunteering, but it was mandatory, and so we had to do it, and like like we was doing I was doing everything at that church, and I was grateful. And then one day when I was homeless, I like did the math, and I like was like, okay, this is how many hours I'm actually working, and this is how much they paying me, and divided that shit and got to like $1.90 something cents. And I was like, and they would not give us a raise. They fired us when they hired a white man and fired all the black staff.
Damn.
That's on God.
Oh God.
But
Mm.
yeah, it is. I'm glad they fired me. To be honest, I didn't want to be there, and I learned a lot. I learned most of the stuff I learned there. I like will implement with Black. Like I learned how to organize there.
Mm.
So because I was working with all those like teenagers and those, we did junior high and high school ministry.
Nice.
So it was, you know, every Sunday we would preach. I was preaching. I used to be a preacher. I used to be up there. Ooh, charismatic. The kids was giving themselves to the Lord. I'm telling you, I was good at what I did. I'm a good. I was. Ooh. Sometimes I forget that life kind of existed because I'm so. I've learned like I'm not like that person. I'm not. I'm so far away from who that person was, but it's like a whole nother life I lived that existed of me being the most faithful servant to our Lord and Jesus Christ. Like, but yeah, I think a lot of Black people got their religion religion story. Like most Black people do.
Yeah, I got lucky. My mom was raised Catholic. My dad
Mm-hmm.
was Baptist. My mom was like, them fucking nuns scared the shit out of me. So she was,
Mm-hmm.
and my dad's mom, I think she was raped in the church. So it was always like, that's not like we love God, but we don't have to participate in this.
Uh-huh.
So by the time I came, everyone was like, fuck the church. we
Mm-hmm.
so I feel
My family was like, we need to help. Like they was helping build new churches. They did that a few times. Like, and I was always like I had an attitude. I hated it. And then like, you know, I gave like when I was 16, I met this cool ass pastor, and he was hella cool. And I was like, gave my life to the Lord. And from there, I was just became a whole nother person. Like somebody I look back on, and I'm like, damn, I was just a depressed ass bitch trying to pray shit away. Like, you know, like that's why I gave my life to the Lord, like depression. Like, and I'm not saying that's everybody's story, but that was mine. And yeah, I went along with it for so long. And I had some crazy, I still believe in God. I had some real things happen to me. You know, I went to India, like, and seen shit and learned shit. I was like, okay, there's a spiritual world out there for sure. So I'm definitely hold on to spirituality. I know that truth, but I reject religion 100%. I'm sorry, I can't fuck with that. Like I learned, yeah, they pay me $2 an hour, like, and I'm supposed to be grateful. Like that's actually an abusive power structure. And now that I have language, I can call that shit out and be like, y'all are unethical and that's violent. But back then, I said, you know, I'll just pray that God will see my faithfulness and give me a raise, um, instead of like having to sleep in my car. Like I didn't have to sleep. I never got that far. Like because I had friends who was like, you can sleep on my couch for a few nights, you know. So, but I was sleeping on the floor, sleeping on couches and shit until I found my own spot. But yeah, and then I was working at the church, so And people had houses with extra rooms and they would not let me stay there.
Mm-hmm.
Pastors. Pastors had 4 or 5 bedroom houses with extra rooms they never even go in, and they would not let me stay there. So like, yeah, it's a problem, and I just stopped really fucking with it. And yeah, period.
Wow, thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah.
Wow, a perspective. Um, if you could change your identity, would you? And I'm expanding this question to not from like black to white, but like if you want to be like a hummingbird or something, like you
No,
can.
I already have my answer. So if I could change my identity, like I was thinking like Mystique, like I can change into anybody I want. I would change into Stephanie St. Clair,
Mhm.
and it would be the early 1900s, and I would be Stephanie St. Clair, and just like Stephanie St. Clair was one of the top mob bosses in Harlem during the 1920s. Nobody ever talks about her. She's my absolute fucking goddess and hero. Let me tell you, so something she did. She got white mobsters murdered for trying to do work in Harlem. She got like 9 cops fired and in the court and testified against them in the court of law as she's a fucking mob boss. She was paying people's bills in Harlem who couldn't afford to live there, and she lived in that fucking like grand apartment like hotel that like fucking like W.E.B. Du Bois and like all these like rich, the like talented tenth, and like they're all living. I think Langston Hughes was there, and like she was just in there, fucking mob boss. She ran a number of games in Harlem, and she was very successful. She originated. She's from Martinique, and then came down when she could have been like 12 or 14. She was hella young, and then left Harlem for a year and came back with 10 grand and started the number of business. So I was just, and she was a hardcore ass bitch. Her husband was this guy named Black Hitler, and he was hella radical and shit. And his name's Sufi, I think Sufi Abdul, I think, but his name in the streets was Black Hitler. And they was married, and he cheated on her with an Asian woman while she shot his ass. She went to prison for 10 years and got out and never to be seen again.
Wow.
And yeah, she was that bitch. That's how they got her. She shot her man, and that's why I don't like these niggas. But I love her so much. He didn't press charges, but she's a Black woman with a gun. So
Wow, that's some history I did not know, and now
nobody know about Stephanie St. Clair. When I'm drunk, I be talking about her like I'm on Drunk History. I'd be in the room by myself like, and
he had an Asian bitch, and she said,
wow, look her, Madam Stephanie St. Clair.
I'm gonna look her up. That's dope. Is there anything in this moment that I may have not asked that you really want to express?
No, I'm so grateful for you having me here. Oh, I do want to just give a few plugs, if I may. Me and Erica Alejandra, we have a radio show called New Black Math, inspired by the Susan Lloyd Parks, which again, my heavenly playwriting goddess. And we talk about Black theater and the importance of it. The last episode we read The Ground on Which I Stand by August Wilson, which is a speech, and we just like talked about it. Like I was like, wait, stop right there, girl, and we just sort of rooted it in today's time, even though it was, spoken in 1996. And then the episode before that, we read New Black Math by Susan Lloyd Parks and talked about the relevance of that. So if you are a theater nerd and you want to learn more about Black theater because your schools have failed you maybe, then check it out. And then, yeah, Black Lights Art Collective, we have a monologue strengthening workshop coming up with Maribel Martinez at the end of this month. And then we also are going to be doing a lot of healing for the holidays. For some of us, it's hard, So we're going to do workshops and events that centers like grounding yourself and healing and financial literacy and stuff like that. So check us out, Black Light Arts with an S collective.com on the World Wide Web. We have Instagram and Facebook and all those cool things.
And I'll make sure to put all the appropriate links under your information. Under your,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, Mimi.
Thank
You're gonna be with us soon. Host like doing a little.
Oh yeah. So
You know.
I don't know the official name for it. I'm not gonna even lie. Is it like the launch of the zine? Can you hear me?
Oh, you're breaking up again.
Ah, is it this? Oh, hold up.
Oh yeah, we're still working on solidifying a date.
Okay.
I think we looked at sort of like closer to the end of next month.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna email you. I know this is unprofessional. Sorry.
It's okay.
But yeah, we got you down.
And just for a heads up, I'll be doing the premiere for the lyric video, and the premiere of that will be associated with his scene. So I'm excited. Can you hear me? You can't hear me. It's okay. I'm gonna stop this right here.